Hi, welcome to Made by Manos. How are you going? I've been having a lovely time off work for the last couple of weeks over the Christmas break. I'm heading back to work on Monday, but I always really enjoy this time of year. I never take so many days off in a row being self-employed, and it's just nice to have the relax. So I've been working on various craft projects. I do have kids as well, so also been going out doing things with the kids, but that hasn't stopped me from making some things. So what I'm wearing today is my most recent finished object, which I finished on Christmas Day. I was working on it on the evening. I didn't bring it with me during the day, although actually I was knitting during the day even on Christmas Day. I tend to just bring my knitting with me everywhere, but this is a machine knit project, and I've been working on hand knitting. Anyway, so this one was done on the machine, like I said, and the pattern is in this book here, which I believe is 1950s. That's the pattern. Now, I had, if you've watched before, you'll know that I had a bit of a saga with regards to some wool that I still haven't finished using, but I had a whole lot of 4-ply weight Rowan soft merino wool that had been eaten by moths, and I've got all these little balls of it. So I've been still trying to get that out of my stash, because sometimes when I have things in my stash, it just kind of irritates me. I feel like I need to make something out of it, essentially. I can't just hide it away. So, and this has been in my long-term stash for more than 10 years. So what I have done with it, I decided to do stripes, although as it turns out the stripes make it look 1930s rather than 1950s, but hey, what can you do? Yeah, so essentially the stripes give it a real 1930s vibe, but it's definitely a 1950s style pattern. This neckline, sorry for touching the microphone, this neckline is very 1950s. Maybe some of these V-necks came out in the 30s, but this is in any case a very 1950s looking neckline with, it's got a crossover at the front. And it was also in the 1950s, there was a lot of this kind of 3/4 length sleeve. So I followed the pattern for that. I did make it a little bit longer though, because I'm fairly tall and I don't like all of the, especially 1940s style knits, how they tend to be a bit short. Obviously in the 1940s there was a yarn shortage, but I don't have a yarn shortage. I don't need to make my garments short. So in the waist I have just made it a little bit longer, and I got a ribbing attachment on my knitting machine, which I managed to get installed, and so I've done the 1x1 ribbing on the machine. I had actually finished the rest of the garment before I got the ribber, so I hung the whole garment on the machine to finish the rib. And I was looking at the instructions for how to cast off and rib on the machine, and it teaches you how to do it using Kitchener stitch. And yeah, the diagram was way too complicated for me on the machine, so I just cast off in a like garter stitch. So essentially I transferred all of the needles from the ribber to the main bed, knit one row, and then moved it all onto a knitting needle, knit one more row again, and then cast off. And I decided to use contrasting colour for some reason, so I used this blue at the bottom, which was one of the blues in the stripes. I'm not sure if that was a great idea. My husband's saying now I need to add blue around the cuffs, but I can't be bothered. And but it is what it is. It goes with these pants, so I have something that it goes with, having the blue at the bottom. And yeah, essentially sometimes you just got to take a gamble. I mean, I guess I can add blue to the bottom of the cuffs, but I don't think I can be bothered. It's fairly snug. The original pattern did have some ease But when I first started knitting it, I got the gauge wrong and I was getting a 40-inch bust instead of a 36-inch. So so basically I tightened up the gauge, and then now it's come out to more of a 34-inch bust, and I've got about 35, somewhere between 35 and 36 depending on the day. So 34 is a little bit on the snug side, but being knitting, it's just kind of stretched. But I had to add an extra couple of stripes at the bottom because when I tried it on, I could see that the ribbing was going to start a little bit above my natural waistline, and I wanted it to be a longer garment. So yeah, so that ended up happening that way. What else can I say about it? Okay, so the wool, so there's actually two lots of wool in here. The stripes are made from Rowan Soft 4-ply merino, which is discontinued, and the black, so that's the coloured stripes. The black stripes are made with Bendigo Woolen Mills Luxury 4-ply. I did find that the Bendigo Woolen Mills Luxury is thinner than the Rowan Soft Merino, and that's why. So when I did a gauge swatch, I just swatched in the Bendigo Woolen Mills, and it came out smaller, and then when I added the Rowan in, it came out quite a bit bigger. So definitely the Rowan wool is a bit thicker than Bendigo Woolen Mills is. But yes, what else can I say about it? Oh, yes, there was something else I was going to say. So, oh my goodness, weaving in the ends for this project was such a pain because the pattern repeat, I've got 4 different colours in the stripes, and so the pattern repeat was a bit too long for like weaving it up the sides, and I didn't really want to manage that many balls. Probably in hindsight I could have, because I've worked out how to do that now on the machine, but I didn't really know how to do it on the machine either, and like there's quite a few rows between each colour, so I cut the yarn at the end of each row, and that sorry for the interruption, my naughty cat just brought in a lizard from outside. We have a little enclosed area for the cats. It's all netted so they can't get out, but that doesn't stop the lizards from getting in. We just have these like little skinks, and the cat loves to go out, pick up a lizard and bring it in the house. So we're starting to get a bit of a colony of lizards in our house at the moment. Anyway, looks like he's about to try and find a new one. We just confiscated the other lizard. So essentially there was a lot to weave in. So that took hours upon hours upon hours, because I had 2 ends for every 8 rows. So essentially every 4 rows there's an end. And what it meant as well is there's a lot of weaving in to do, and I was trying to weave it into the seams. And so what I've noticed is for this jumper compared to some of my others, even though I stitch the seams themselves using thread, the seams themselves seem a bit bulky, and it's because I've been weaving in the ends in the seams, and it's been making an extra thick seam. So this one in particular, it just feels really lumpy around the seam. So next time I make something with stripes, like if I make anything else with as many stripes as this, I'll try to reduce the number of ends that I've got, because I really don't like the seam sticking out so much, but it's not too bad. In terms of fit, most of the time these days I resize the garment using Invisio knits. So I did that with this one as well. What I do is I plot the original pattern in Invisio knits, and then I check whether it's going to fit me, and in this case actually it already fit me really well, but I did make a few alterations, I believe, in the shoulders to make them a little bit narrower. And yeah, I think that's that's it, to be honest. I think I only adjusted the shoulders. All right, well, I think that's it with that one. I did get a whole bunch of belts for myself for Christmas, so I think that this one suits a long belt. Otherwise, I find that the stripes ending at my waist and then a whole lot of black looks a bit jarring, so I do like it with the belt. Okay, so other things that I have been working on over this Christmas period includes a bit more work on this jumper. Yay, I love this one. I'm really excited for this one. So I have steeked this, and I like to steek it early to try it on. I guess I'm a little bit reckless in that, right, in that way, because I'm trying it on with raw edges, but I just like to make sure it's fit after all that work. So this pattern here is a 1940s German pattern, but these are Selbum motifs, so it's a German Norwegian pattern, and the dot section are called lice, and then this is, I think it kind of looks like a flower, but it is a Selbum star. And when it's finished, I will have matching sleeves, so the patterning will start again at the same point on the sleeve cap. And the way that I plan to knit the sleeves is I'm going to do two separate, well, I'm considering putting the sleeves on my knitting machine and seaming them, but if I hand knit it, then the way that I'm planning to do it is to knit two separate tubes, and then when I get to the sleeve caps, I'm going to do two sleeve caps at a time with steeks on two sides. So it'll essentially look like two sleeves attached to a circle at the top. It'll make it look hat-sized or something, but I'll be able to tell where the steeks are because I put, you probably can't tell.
No. I found another one in the guinea pig mix.
Oof.
This is a fast one.
All right, go pop that one outside.
No.
Yeah, where I've done the steek, I've kind of striped it. I don't know if you can tell, but I'll just do the same. So I'll do the pattern, and then I do 7 stitches in my steek. So I'll do stripes for 7, and then go back to the pattern again. And the arms would have already been fully formed because I started the cuff. And then I'll cut the 2 shoulder caps open, which will make 2 flat shoulder caps attached to sleeves, and then I will sew them in afterwards. So this has been a bit of a long-term project. I've been working on this since February 2024, and it's one that I just take out with me and work on when I'm out and about. Because I haven't been doing too much hand knitting lately. I've been really wanting to learn my machine. So, but yeah, I can't wait to have this. I'm really hoping to have it finished by winter because I just lived in my other Shetland wool project last winter. Now, I haven't said what the yarn is, sorry. So this is Jamieson and Smith Shetland 2-ply. So it's their standard kind of 2-ply jumper weight yarn. The purple is, I think it's called FC9 mix, I believe. And then the white is just the natural white, which makes it look slightly creamy, but I quite like that. Okay, so one more project I've been working on recently. I've been working on finishing this cardigan that it's been sitting in my kind of unfinished pile for a while, and it was close to being finished already. By the way, it's 33 degrees today, like 33 degrees Celsius. So I live in knitwear anyway because our house is usually set to 22. But I've been getting a few strange looks from our neighbours because when they ring the doorbell, I'm there in a jumper and they're like, what? It's like 30s, in the 30s today? And I'm like, yeah, well, I like knitwear. Anyway, so now I'm doing double knitwear and it is a 33-degree day, so it's a bit crazy. Hopefully no one looks in the window and wonders what I'm up to. All right, so this one is made of the most beautiful New Zealand possum hair. I don't think it fits great over this jumper, but this one, it's just so soft, this possum hair. It's just absolutely beautiful. So it has an applied button band afterwards. I'd basically finished everything other than the button band and the collar. And then over the last week, I've been knitting that up, which I just finished last night. So it's a bit of an odd shape. You've got this wide bit for the collar and then these are the button bands on each side. So essentially, it's, no, have I got it run away? No, this. Yeah, it's going to look something like this. There's a bit of finagling involved, but basically it's going to look something like that. And obviously there's buttonholes, so I've got to sew that on and sew in the buttons. I really like this extra wide collar. I think it's just going to be beautiful in winter. So I don't think it will take me that long to sew that collar on either. I'm pretty sure that one will be finished soon. And I was having a look through my button tin for some buttons. And I found a perfect button, but I think I have enough, and they are true vintage, so there's no way that I can get them again. How many buttonholes do I have? So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need 8 buttons, and unfortunately I found the absolute perfect button, but I've only got 4 of them. I found this little tin at Coles and I think it's so cute. I find it really kitschy, so I'm going to bought this for my buttons. For all the Australians that know what Vegemite is. Anyone that's not Australian will be like, well, what's that? So I found these amazing buttons. I just don't have enough of them, but they just look so perfect. There we go. Yeah, I really love this button. I think that would have just been the most amazing button with it, but like I said, I've only got 4 of them, so I'm a bit disappointed. I'm going to have to find something similar. I really, really like it. Anywho, it might be a little bit small for it anyway. Something slightly bigger than that would be good. But I only did one hole buttonholes, so this one fits through the hole pretty well. They're only tiny little holes. There, that's how big the hole is. They're only little. Alright, I'm also working on something on my knitting machine. I've also just started a new project on my knitting machine. I've plotted out the graph from the pattern and I don't know if you can see this. So I used my ribber to create 1x1 ribbing at the bottom. So I'm essentially following the pattern exactly. So I've got 1x1 ribbing at the bottom. I've got leftovers from my kind of cranberry coloured skirt for the main part of the colour, and then I'm up to the colourwork part here. And this, I don't know how to use the self-patterning options on the machine yet, so I'm doing this manually by hand. I made a mistake yesterday. Basically, I cast the whole thing on yesterday, so I've already got up to the colourwork yoke in one day, which is awesome. But I made a mistake and I had to tink back all of the colourwork. So I've got like the last row of plain colour on a lifeline now in case I have to tink it back again. I have made a mistake on one side, but I think I can fix this. Basically, it's just too loose on one side. I'm going to fix it by kind of tightening those threads and then trying to just sew through them to hold it in. But the way that I'm doing this, I'm essentially doing fair out on the machine. I started out trying to do it the way that Engineering Knits did hers on the Bond machine when she brought out a video of that. But that was what I had to tink, because what I found was that the manual knitting way that she was doing it was leaving like a really sloppy, loose tension. And so I found a different way of doing it, which I think is coming out much neater. And the way that I am doing this is, to compare what she was doing on Engineering Knits, she was pulling out needles for all of the contrast colours, and then she had stockinette mode, would knit all of the background colour and skip all the needles that were the contrast colour, and then she went back and manually re-knit all the contrast colour by putting the wool in each needle and then pulling it back manually. And that was the process that was leaving quite loose tension, because I think I was pulling it back slightly too far. I was trying to line them all up, but it still came out sloppy, so yeah, I wasn't really happy. So the way that I'm doing it now instead is I've changed my machine to slip mode instead of knit. And when it's in slip mode, if I pull the needle out, it will knit the needles that are pulled out, but it won't knit the ones that are not pulled out. So it's the opposite of what she was doing on Engineering Knits. And then I'm doing one pass with the main colour. I'm then returning the carriage, and then I'm doing another pass with the contrast colour. So I might just do a little bit now to show you. Alright, sorry I miscounted and had to start over. So, well, not start over, but start over with the counting. So one of the trickier things, well, it's not really tricky, I just can't count and record at the same time. But when you do it the way that I'm doing it, you do have to actually count the needles twice. Whereas the way that she was doing it in Engineering Knits, you only have to pull out the needles once. So that is a drawback of this method, but overall I find that this method is a lot tidier. So I've got my machine set to slip and I've got the correct yarn in. I'm going to do the red first.
Someone
For some reason when I do this it tends to pull a lot of yarn up, so I've just pulled it down before I do my row to try to avoid loose edges. Right. And that's knit all of those, and all of the stitches, sorry, all of the needles have now gone backwards. Right, so I'm just parking the yarn to one side. I then return the carriage in slip mode, which won't drop the needles. Then I attach the next colour of wool and then repeat the same. That's not the ones. Now, one unfortunate thing with machine knitting colourwork is that you end up with these really long floats. I've had a look at what I can do about this because this particular pattern has quite long float areas. I think at the beginning they're 15 stitches long. But I found out that what you can do is you can get a bit of the yarn that matches, and then you can run a needle through and kind of twist them all together at the back, kind of like jacquard, but just using a needle or like a tapestry needle. And I can do the same up all the areas that have the large floats, which will just catch them that way. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to finishing that one. I haven't seen the front yet, so I hope what I've done is okay. But like I mentioned, this side here is, I made a mistake there. It's a bit too loose and it's got a couple of holes. So it doesn't have holes from drop stitches, it's just from loose tension. So what I need to do over here is pull these tight, these loose bits, and then tack them down somehow when I'm sewing up the seams, and then that will pull it in and get rid of those holes. Alright, just a couple more things to share. So the first thing, I'm hosting a make along with a prize starting January 18 and finishing May 18, and I put out a poll on my Facebook group, 1920s to 1980s all fibre crafts, asking what people want to make, and by far the most votes was for the 1940s era in terms of a theme. So I picked that as a theme, and essentially the rules are you can pick any pattern at all as long as that's 1940s, or you can justify why you think it's 1940s if you don't know the date, and it can be crochet knitting, machine knitting, macrame, what else is there that's yarn, embroidery. I feel like I'm missing something. Tatting, I don't know. But as long as it's yarn related, then you can make it in this make along. But yeah, it just has to be 1940s themed, and you need to have started on or after the 18th of January, and you need to register if you want to win a prize. And in terms of what the prize is, we're going with a $20 voucher to the Subversive Femme website, which means that you can buy patterns from Bex's online store. And actually, Bex from Subversive Femme has been so gracious to actually donate that prize, which is really kind of her, because I announced the prize without asking her to donate it, and then she offered to donate it. So it's really, really kind of her. And it means there might be a runners-up prize as well. We'll see. But for now, that's what it is. So please join in that. We have a chat thread going in like Facebook Messenger, and the Facebook group is available for any group posts. So when you register, you'll need to register in the group, and then you can join in the chat for the make along. Alrighty, so that's that. And I guess the last thing to talk about really is what do I plan to do in 2025. And I've got quite a few plans, but these things are always bound to change. But this year I've got a couple of themes going. One is that I want to keep learning machine knitting. I've got 3 vintage knitting machines now, and I want to get really good at that. There's still a lot of skills that I have no idea about when it comes to machine knitting, so I plan to spend most of the year on machine knitting. But I'll still do some hand knitting as well, because I need some projects to take out with me. So the other thing that I really want to do is not so much about learning a particular skill, but just in terms of finished objects, I really need some plain coloured tops and cardigans in particular. I have a tendency towards colourwork. I just really like colourwork, and they don't always match everything else in my wardrobe. In particular, because I get attracted to colourwork, I tend to buy patterned dresses and pants and skirts and tops, patterned everything. And if you have patterned at the top and patterned everywhere else, it can definitely clash. So I've picked out some cardigans that I thought I would like to try making, especially a lot of vintage patterns have ribbed cardigans, or ribbing in a large proportion of the cardigan, and the more decorative stitches tend to be on the tops, like the pullover type tops, because a lot of these were worn as twin sets as well, and you'd wear the more decorative top as like a t-shirt, and then you'd make a cardigan in a much plainer stitch pattern in a single colour that matches one of the colours in the top. So I plan to make quite a few of the cardigans, and I really wanted to get rib working before I worked on those, because there are some that are in plain stockinette, but a lot of them are ribbed. So I've got some plans for some cardigans. I also want to redo the deep V cardigan that I called my project of doom last year. I really didn't like it, but I still liked the finished object, but it didn't fit properly, and I felt like I butchered it by cutting the sleeves off and things. So I'm going to start it again, but it will be the same pattern but just a slightly different fit. I'm going to make another machine knitted skirt. Since making the machine knitted skirt a few weeks ago now, I've been living in that thing. Especially I'm expecting to wear it a lot over winter, so I'm going to make another one of those. And I'm planning to use, so I don't know if you can see behind me, but I've got cones of Bendigo Woolen Mill wool that I'm using to make this. I'm planning to I'm planning to basically buy cones, and then I can make skirts to match the tops that I make, so in the same colourway. I'm hoping to make a flat seamed sock this year. I have never done short rows on my knitting machine, so I don't know if I'm going to do a short row heel on the machine, or if I'm just going to do an afterthought heel, but I'd certainly like to give that a go. I would like to have a go at a Fair Isle cardigan and doing all the Fair Isle on the machine. And there's a bunch of other projects that I've listed as maybes. I haven't planned what yarn I'm going to go with them yet, but those are the main things that I've definitely put as must-haves for my wardrobe. All right. Well, I think that's enough from me for now. Sorry again about all the noises around the place. I can't really stop noises around my house. Not only do we have a lot of family members, but we also have a house that echoes, so you can hear anything that's going on anywhere in the house. And also our air conditioner requires the doors to be open, so you can probably hear the birds and all sorts as well. But yeah, I have really enjoyed chatting with you all in 2024. Hope to do this again in 2025. I've especially enjoyed being an admin on some Facebook groups, so please come and say hello over there. I'll be on Facebook, and I hope that you really enjoy your making in 2025. Please tell me, what was your, I haven't gone through and shown what I made earlier in 2024 as a recap, but what was your favourite projects in 2024? Or what plans have you got for 2025? I'm really keen to hear. All right, see you later. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.